Hello and welcome back to Tuesday at Dobbs's. Got back from Colombo, Sri Lanka last night at about 10 p.m. after a single 11.5-hour flight. Went to bed at about midnight and I woke up at 5 a.m. because I still got that jet lag. So 5 a.m. here would be about 9:30 in Sri Lanka. So I think I've got about another 2 days to completely acclimatise myself back to the UK time zone. Great to be back though. Thank you so much everyone for, as always, getting in contact, sharing your thoughts and opinions. Best place to do so, comment section below. And if you have a longer story, you can email hi@tuesdayatdobbs.com. I know I always say that every week, but I really mean it. Thank you so much for all of your input, because without you sharing your thoughts, it would be impossible to make these podcasts on a weekly basis. So you're all of you, instrumental in me doing these weekly videos, so thank you so much. Okay, this is interesting. What happens once your bike's been written off? This is from Richard. Freddie, I've had my 2021 Yamaha MT-09 SP stolen, then recovered, and unfortunately the insurer, Bennett's, are going to write it off. I wonder what the damage is like, Richard, because this is just it's a fairly expensive bike and it's only 3 years old, yet it's a write-off. I continue. It's been held at Fourth Dimensions in Surrey, who have informed me I have the option of retaining the bike and doing the repairs myself. Do you know what that means? Richard, this is something I'm always curious about, so I'm going to open this up to everyone. Who's been in this situation? Can it be incredibly easy to get one's bike back on the road? Is it as simple as you go to the lockup where your bike's parked, you push it away or you trailer it away, and you literally just go onto eBay, find some second-hand panels for your bike, screw them on your bike, and get it registered, and you're back on the road at a cost of maybe £300 when the insurer is actually writing off your bike? Is that the reality of how easy it can be? Or is it a documentational nightmare trying to jump over all the hoops to legally get it back on the road? I would love to hear your thoughts. Any success stories, any pictures that you've got, send an email or leave a comment. I will definitely share some of those next week if we get any stories in. Right, on to living with the dream. What is the reality? An old Ducati and the reality of life with the Italian dream. This is from Timmer. Freddie, and pictures included. Just beautiful bike. Freddie, I was window shopping for my dream bike, and inadvertently I kept coming back to the Ducati Monster S4 RS. But by then in 2020 they had become so rare and classic that there were only 2 or 3 for sale in the whole country at any given time, and those sold for £10,000 to £12,000. So what did I do? I set up a search alarm on eBay for the S4 RS and I found it. A perfect condition. 2006 S4 RS with only 7,500 miles on it and lots of nice extras. It was a fire sale also, as the owner claimed to be needing money after a bad divorce. He was asking £9,000 for it, so I submitted a bid 20 minutes after he posted the ad. I would not have been this cheeky, Timmer. For £7,500, that's £1,500 cheaper than the advertised price, just 20 minutes after it was put up for sale. The seller replied almost instantly, accepting the bid. What have I done? Unfortunately, and here's the bit, this is a fascinating insight, the reality of living with a dream bit of exotica. Continuing. Unfortunately, as much as I love owning and riding the S4 RS, it is an old Ducati. It is not a reliable machine, and I would dare to take it across on a trip to Europe. It goes out of tune every 6 months or so the mechanics need to tinker with it. I recently did the valve adjustment job And that cost me just over £2,000. She doesn't have ABS or any sort of traction control, so when it's wet, my rear wheel is spinning off the start and it locks up at the stops. Oh, but how I love riding her. She is a perfect size, weighing 180 kilos and showing 140 horsepower on a dyno. She gets the thumbs up wherever I go, and I love spending hours cleaning her once a week with a toothbrush. It is a painful sort of love for this bike, but it is still most definitely my dream bike. I'm now contemplating buying a reliable workhorse for longer journeys, and I am considering the Honda Transalp, but I haven't ridden one yet. But one thing is for sure, even if this bike no longer rides and I have a fleet of other bikes, I will simply keep her in my garage and maybe one day a living room. Well, there it is. Timo, you've given the most brilliant insight, the reality of living with the dream. I have to say that is probably exactly as I imagined classic Ducati or special high-end Ducati ownership to be. Big Wool shared this. This is a comment from last week. The trouble with buying a dream bike is that it can end up being a garage queen, which is what happened to me. I sold my old bike and I bought a bike that I liked but wasn't in love with. And then I rediscovered what biking's all about, i.e. riding and the experience of the journey, not about worshipping the means of getting you there. I'm moving on now. A poor seller in Europe, but a very highly regarded heavyweight by those in the know. This is a bike that pops up every so often. If you know about these bikes, and if you've ever owned one of these bikes, then you, chances are, will rate it as highly as you can possibly rate a bike. This is from Doug in Suffolk. Hi Freddie, RE Dream Bikes, pictured. Here's mine, the sublime, stunning Honda CB1300S. Is it wrong that I'm often just standing in my small front shed staring at this beauty? The finish on this 2009 bike is incredible and she goes so smoothly. Roll on some sunny days and some more riding and staring. Doug, Suffolk. Doug, these must have been when they came out, all the way back in 2005. The centerpiece for every Honda motorcycles dealership, front and center, right in the window to attract people in and come and have a look at the entire range on display, because these are phenomenally good looking bikes, unbelievably well built and completely bulletproof with regards to reliability. 113 horsepower, 236 kilos and a 1300cc engine. So that is as heavyweight as you're going to get. And relatively speaking, 113 horsepower from a 1300cc engine is not a lot. So this is going to be a very unstressed engine that will be completely bulletproof. Owner's reliability rating on MCN, of course, 4.9 out of 5. What would we call this? A retro sports tourer, I think. An extremely good looking sports tourer. And what can we find online? All of that performance that is now pushing it age-wise. They're going up to about 20 years ago now, these first came out, almost. I found one, 2006 model. Very easy to find, although there aren't that many of them, but they're always about. There'll always be 4 or 5 of them. 2006 model, CB1300S, £4,300, listed a month ago with, I think, 18,000 miles on the clock. It's hard to believe that this is 18 years old. Right, moving on. Doug, it's a stunner. Moving on to Daniel now. How to get that dream bike? What sacrifices may you have to make to get the dream bike? And if you find a dream bike that just happens to tick every single box, is it even worth having more than one bike? Can a dream bike actually make a lot of sense from a practicality point of view? Daniel thinks so. Freddie, well, after your impressions of the Harley Davidson Sport Glide, I decided to do some research and found one local to me in Devon. Pictures attached here. It would mean trading in my stable of two motorbikes. That's a 1996 Harley Davidson Sportster and a 2017 BMW R1200RS. But completely worthwhile, as the Sport Glide is a one-year-old bike with just 5,500 miles. But why, I hear you ask? Well, the missus can't take more than 1 hour on the Sportster, and she also found it a bit cramped on the BMW. So we test rode it, and we both fell in love with it. It's got comfort, great handling, torque, not overly heavy, and sufficient luggage space. The price was £13,500, and I got £10,000 for my two motorbikes, stripping them beforehand of all of the accessories. That bike, that Sport Glide, that's the unsung hero of the Harley range. That is a seriously good bike. It's the perfect mix of dream level bike that you would have up as a poster on a wall, but it's genuinely practical as well. It's comfy, you can tour on it, it's quick, it handles well, it's got everything. That was the biggest surprise for me of last year. It's the standout moment. From a point of view of bikes that I was really surprised by, I think that would be right up at the top of possibly the bike of the year for 2023 that I rode. I thought it was a staggeringly good bike. I rate it so highly. And if I had the money, if someone would say to me, if I had the money to buy any bike, what would I go straight to the dealership to buy? It would be the Sport Glide, I think. I rate it so highly. Daniel, I think you've made the right choice there. Two bikes for one. On now to Paul. Welcome to biking. Paul, it's rare I get sports bikes, and I love seeing them. Hi, Freddie. I finally got my full motorbike license a month ago. Having not much money to spend on a bike, I managed to get myself this Kawasaki ZXR or Kawasaki ZX7R for £1,700. I put an MOT on it, that's the annual test, and all of the advisories for the annual test were done for just £290, leaving me with a tidy Kawasaki ZX7R, which runs like a dream, all in £2,000, including that service. I've been out a few times, and I must say it's a pleasure to ride a 90s classic sports bike. Looking forward to the better weather, to getting more riding in. You know, these are coming back, these 90s bikes. I can see the desire and the demand for these coming back, because everything goes out of fashion and everything eventually comes back into fashion. Everything. And I can see it happening for the old sports bikes. And I don't see these on the road anymore. It's just so nice to see these. Paul, it looks stunning. Welcome to biking. On now. I didn't expect a conversation to go like this, but I had so many people messaging and getting in touch with such a similar thing. I thought I have to share this for the last bit of the podcast today. Small capacity bikes, 400cc bikes, are they the new kings of the road? This is from William. Is 400cc the new sweet spot for modern bikes in 2024? Every manufacturer seems to have one in its range, from the insane race replica, remember this name, Kawasaki Ninja 400, to the pedestrian plodder Royal Enfield 350. They seem to tick all of the boxes. Performance, economy, weight, insurance, costs, emissions, and not least the price. My only concern about them is that they would seem to be a bit compromised when it comes to two-up riding. But what do you reckon, Freddie? Is 400cc the new standard for a new bike in 2024, or is it just a compromise too far? William, William, I really believe these bikes, the sub 400cc bikes are going to be, and are, the saviours of motorcycling. Because in the world we're in now, where everyone's having to tighten their purse strings, and there are ever tightening restrictions with regards to emission standards, these bikes are coming along and they make perfect sense from every single point of view. They're getting people who have left biking back into biking, and they're bringing in brand new bikers getting curious about it, who have never possibly considered getting into biking. They genuinely can be the saviours of biking. They're cheap, they're fun, they don't take themselves too seriously. I think they are amazing. And when you look at what Royal Enfield have done, for example, Royal Enfield have proven that small capacity bikes can be cool. That for me is the biggest revelation that's come out of biking in the past 4 years. The change in perception from small capacity bikes, just being for learners, that's probably something you're going to have for a year and then you'll move on, but it's not a proper bike, it's just a little bike. Royal Enfield have changed the game and made small capacity bikes genuinely cool. It can be a forever bike. It's cool in its own right. It's not cool as a small bike. No, a Royal Enfield Classic 350, for example, is a cool bike full stop. It's got its own certain charm that a bigger engine motorbike could never hope to match. In short, William, I love them. And this leads on so perfectly to Bike of the Week. This comes in from Steve. Freddie, can I please recommend Kawasaki's ZX4 RR as Bike of the Week? I know you don't normally cover super sports bikes, but hear me out. I think Kawasaki have been very brave to bring out a 399cc inline four screamer of a bike. How they've made a 77 horsepower, 80 horsepower when the ram air kicks in, 16,000 redline bike, Euro 5 compliant, is incredible. I've ridden and owned many types of bikes, but the one I fell in love with was my old 2001 ZX6R. The power, handling, and most of all the induction roar of the screaming engine was sublime and incredibly addictive. After having my first child, I sold it, as I was going to end up killing myself, as it was always tempting me to go at breakneck speeds to get those inline four thrills, and I didn't want to leave my child without a father. I've had many bikes since, but nothing ever came close. Now I'm in my 50s and 3 more children later, Kawasaki brought out the ZX4RR, which, thanks to my wife, who always knew I hankered after my old 6R, said I had to buy. And I duly obliged. Well, Steve, that's very good of you. But why, I hear you ask? Well, it gives you all of the thrills of the 6R, but without having to ride at license-ending speeds. It's a beautiful machine to look at, sounds awesome, and has all the specs you'd want from a proper race bike, which is up and down quick shifter, traction control, rider modes, fully adjustable suspension at the rear, but whilst it's sporty, it's not uncomfortable for my not so youthful frame. In a world of, for me, boring parallel twin, small capacity, underpowered bikes, this is a unique breath of fresh air. Well done, Kawasaki. I'll rest my case there. Steve, aka Speed Bean. These 400cc bikes, they are changing the landscape of biking. I think in the next year or two, we're going to see a very strong shift and a focus towards these bikes. There are going to be people, and I've been hearing about it on a weekly basis, people downgrading, going from much, much bigger capacity bikes down to 400cc bikes simply because they say they're just more fun, they're more usable, they actually enjoy riding them more. And I wrap it up there with a 400cc brand new super sports Kawasaki as Bike of the Week. Who would have guessed it? Thank you so much everyone for listening and watching this week's episode. Have a brilliant week, and I'll speak to you all in the next one.